Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the #1 podcast. My name is Kian Lynch. Thank you guys so much for joining me. It's actually the #1 podcast for cup stacking. You didn't need to hear that last part, okay? Like we all know what this is. This is the PYRAcast, second episode here. Last time we had Evan Cloud, and that was an absolute blast talking with him, catching up with him. But this time, I think we've got one of the most exciting stackers in the world just to watch, period, for a couple of reasons. And if you saw PCS Double Down, you know exactly what I mean. Yes, ladies and gents, we got Tyler Hollis on the PYRAcast. Tyler, how you doing, my man?
Kian, I'm doing great. I just want to say thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to talk about the things we're talking about today,
Oh yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I actually, this is probably more packed than Evan's episode. Nothing against Evan. It was just like so many more things happened, I guess, like over the time, over like juniors and, some of the events that have happened just in a single month, which is kind of why I wanted to do this monthly instead of like bi-weekly or even weekly, because if I do it weekly, you kind of run out of things to talk about at some point. So I think that monthly is like a good kind of status update for everybody, kind of getting back in. I see the people in chat. Thank you guys so much for watching. Of course, my name's Kian Lynch. I am your host of the PYRAcast. I am just the guy who does everything PYRA. If you hear PYRA, chances are you know me. And that over there, all the way to his left, is Ethan Jones, the Bones Man himself. Ethan, rocking some PYRA drip as well. Appreciate that. Ethan, how you doing, Ethan? I feel like we never talk about you.
It's okay. Kian, I am chilling. I was supposed to have off work tomorrow, but I don't now. But it's okay. Here today, looking forward to having a great podcast.
Looking forward to have a great podcast. And it's important that you didn't, or that you do have work tomorrow, because that means you don't have work today, which means we get to talk all things stacking. But before we go any further with kind of the stacking topics, I guess, so to speak, I feel like what we really need to kind of come back into is something that we introduced last episode, which was the PYRA Power Rankings. A different version of the PPR. We have the PYRA Point Rankings and we have the PYRA Power Rankings. This is just kind of how we see the stackers in the world based on our personal rankings of how consistent, fast, like overall as stackers, how they currently are. And we only judge stackers that have currently competed in PYRA tournaments just because it's head-to-head. It's a completely different environment, so we want to make sure that everybody understands that. And at the same time, we do have some updates for not only myself and Ethan's brackets, but obviously, Tyler, you've got your own bracket. We have our own list to introduce for Tyler as well. So let's get into this. Let's talk about these lists. And as you can already see, some things have definitely shaken up here. But one of the things that I was actually excited to talk about, Tyler, your list and my list are actually the same 5 stackers, just in kind of varying orders. Ethan, you have 4 out of 5 for you. You do have 1 stacker different, but we'll go through this list by list. For starters, to absolutely everybody's completely mind-blowing surprise, yes, ladies and gentlemen, Kian is still the #1 stacker in the world in our rankings. I know, mind-boggling. It's just, I don't think he's ever slowing down at this point. We kind of talked about it last episode. It was like, it would take some absolute heroics and just an off day from Kian for him to kind of be kicked off that pedestal. But it would take multiple bad showings, I think. I don't think it would just be like one bad showing. You'd have to like really drop the ball. Or somebody else would have to like absolutely show up and show out. That's why I'm excited for in-person tournaments, obviously, going forward. But our #2 stacker is, for everybody, is where this begins to get a little bit different. I have William Morel. That has not changed for me, I think. Tyler, you have Evan, and Ethan has Tyler. And I think, obviously I do hold high praise for you, Tyler, so I don't think we need to talk about you too much because I think you've proven yourself quite well. Evan, though, #2 in your rankings. Let's talk about that. What brings Evan so high for you?
The reason why Evan's at my #2 is because of his involvement with the tournaments. He's competed a lot, so there's a really big sample size for him. While his outcomes haven't been the absolute best they could, I see way too much potential, and he's very passionate about PYRA, so I only see things getting better for him. And since he's already competed so much, I really couldn't put him anywhere else lower than 2.
That's solid. That's solid. And obviously, Ethan and I both have Evan on our list. He's a little bit further down just because of how much talent is at the top of the scene right now. We have to judge by. And speaking of which, you guys both have the same #3 prediction. It is my #2, or #3 prediction, #3 ranking. It is my #2 ranking, which is William Morel. Now, I didn't need to put Orel any higher. Obviously, I couldn't because it's behind Kian. He's going to stay that way. But I will give Orel the credit that I feel like he deserves here. Orel did just win juniors. Congratulations to him. I don't think it surprised too many people because if we're talking about the absolute best North American stackers, it's kind of crazy to not have him within the top 3 if he's not just number 1. Because for me, he is my number 1 North American stacker. I think if you kind of vote on the terms of consistency, it's like I don't think there's many stackers that can challenge him like in a one-on-one head-to-head kind of competition because of just how goddamn consistent he is. Tyler, I think you're one of the very few people that can actually push him the distance. And as you can see, that's where I have you for my number 3 ranking. I have you, and I guess more so to my reasoning, I don't think I need to toot your horn a little bit too much, but you are the only stacker to actually take down William Morel, the only stacker to actually beat William Morel from PCS Double Down. And you did it in convincing enough fashion. I don't know how much changes if Morel doesn't have the Gen 5 issues, Gen 5 moment. Somebody made that joke in chat, and I've been saying it ever since. But truthfully, like, I'm not sure how much of that would have actually changed if his timers were working or if they weren't. And I don't think it's enough to like actually blame it on the timers. I think you probably would have won that either way. You just had more of the consistency at the end. You saw Rel start to fumble a little bit, and I think you finally got your hook. But number 4 for everybody's list, Tyler, humble as ever, you have yourself there. And I think Evan had the same thing where he put himself at number 4. It's like both of you know your top 5 stackers, but you don't want to toot your own a little bit too much. So I respect that. And as for myself and Ethan, like I said, we both have Evan. No explanations there. I think did he get 3rd or 4th at juniors? I can't remember.
Evan got 3rd.
Yeah,
You got 3rd. Yeah, so I think that's completely valid. Again, it's just kind of a matter of, who else is in the rankings there with Evan, as to why I didn't put him higher. Like, could I have interswapped him and you, Tyler? Maybe, but I think it's pretty solid either way. And then number 5 is where things start to get a little bit shaky, or start to shake up a little bit, because my number 5 changed. I previously, I think, had Will Allen, and now I have Tyler Famo. And you know what? I'm riding the Tyler Fano train. Yeah, I'm here. I'm on the bus. Choo-choo. Here we are. And Tyler, I think you know about that a little bit as well. I think Tyler Fano did he get 4th at juniors?
He got 2nd.
He got 2nd? Damn. Yeah. All right.
He had a 550.
All right, I put in my ticket. I'm on the Tyler Fano train. Here I am. Yeah. Wow. And how old is Tyler? Like 15, 16?
Tyler's 16.
16, bro.
Yeah.
It's 16 and top 2 at the biggest North American tournament, maybe in the world. Before, obviously, I host my own. But seriously, credits to Tyler Fano. I think that it's just more so like a longevity thing before I can put him any higher on the list. And, sure, he got 8th at PCS Double Down. He had Chen Kengian, okay? I think anybody, you give him a break there. And then, Ethan, yours is different. You do not have Tyler Fano in your top 5, trader. You have Naoki. And I think Evan had Naoki last time. So explain your reasoning. What brought you into the Naoki hype?
So it was really tough for me to omit Tyler Fano from this list. Actually, if you guys remember, from the previous episode of the PYRAcast, not only did I have Tyler Fano on the list, I had him in the top 3. I had Tyler at number 2, and then I had Ian at number 1. Probably underrated or a little bit, but no, but it was very difficult for me to omit Tyler Fano. It was between him and Naoki. Ultimately, I chose Naoki for the sole reason, and honestly, this is the only reason. Naoki has competed in one more tournament than Tyler Fano, and he has shown out in both of them. At First Strike, he really put together a monster performance. Nearly beat Evan Cloud in the bracket. And then at PCS Double Down, he had another great showing.
Top 4?
Yeah, I believe he got top 4.
And lost to Ian again, so like...
Ian's just like Tom Brady. He just wins.
Yeah.
But no, again, it really could have went either way. But right now, I do think I just feel a little bit better about putting Naoki on the list, but Tyler, obviously, Tyler Fano and Tyler Hollis, of course, you're a beast too. But Tyler Fano is definitely a beast, and I could see him being back on this list very soon.
Yes, sir. So that's our list for our current power rankings for the month of August, I guess it would be in that case. Going into September, we'll see how much this list shakes up, if it changes at all, for anybody except our guest host that month. But I will say, if we were to expand this down to the top 10, I'm sure we would have some more of these names. Like I definitely have Naoki and Will Allen again. I'm sure you'd see Tyler Fano in Ethan's list. There's a lot of different stackers that could expand to, but it just gets so complicated when you go from 5 to 10. It's where things it gets hard to explain, and then it takes too much time. So we are going to move on to our next subject here. But before we do that, I do want to ask, because we only had so many stackers compete in PYRA tournaments. Of the stackers that haven't competed in PYRA tournaments, which stackers do you guys think are going to have the most explosive potential, like the best chances of getting to top 5 in your guys' minds? Ethan, we'll start with you on this one.
Of the stackers that have not competed, that's tough. I would be very interested to see how someone like Dalton would perform at Pirate First Strike, because he seems to always do very well in head-to-head competitions. Based on, I've watched him at juniors. I've watched him compete in head-to-head at Worlds 2018, and he definitely shows a lot of potential in that type of format. Of course, that's relay, not head-to-head cycle. But were he to decide to compete in a PYRA competition, I would definitely look forward to watching him.
And Tyler, what about you? Do you have any other names of notice that you're thinking of?
One that did come to mind when you said that, I was thinking of Dalton because of his success with the two practice, 3 attempt. Like anything outside of that, he's like top of the top. Like he's super good. But other than that, a lot of people have competed in PYRA, so it's really hard to like say. You can't. If Pauly ever came back, of course, William Pauly, I feel like he's super good at head-to-head events. He's just really good at keeping his composure, and I obviously feel like he would do really good. But the chances of that happening, of him actually coming back, and
who knows?
stacking, all right, we never know. So I would have to agree with Ethan. I think Dalton would definitely come out and shock a lot of people, even though to me it wouldn't be so shocking. But
yeah, I agree with both of those. Yeah, I fully agree with both of those. And I see William Pauly as kind of like the Optic Gaming of the cup stacking scene. It's like he's so much of a fan favorite. It's like even if he completely shit the bed, I feel like he would just I feel like he would always be like the loudest one cheered on when he walks onto the stage type of person, because people love him so much. And he's just such a cool guy. He's super friendly. I love William. For me, and people have been saying this one in chat, or at least I saw one person saying it, I think Seamus would be so dangerous in head-to-head competition. I think that Seamus is still one of those stackers, like completely uncapped potential, and he kind of gives me the same like feeling as Evan Cloud. It's like he might be a very hot and cold stacker at times, but I would like to see how he performs in head-to-head competition and see if it helps him or it hurts him. Because when I see Evan in the 2 warm-ups, 3 attempts type format, nothing against him there. I mean, obviously he just got third. It's not like he's bad. But I feel like when he's on his game in head-to-head competition, he's so hard to like beat. And I've experienced that firsthand. So I hold Seamus to that kind of same pedigree. It's like, I think if Seamus is on his game, it's gonna be hard to beat him. And people have also been saying Jiwei as well. I'm not sure if Jiwei still competes, but if he does, he would be lethal too. But yeah, that's going to cover the power rankings portion of our introduction. But obviously, we have a guest host, Tyler Hollis. Tyler, thank you for being here. But we want to learn a little bit more about you. You've kind of told your story in bits and pieces, but I feel like this is a good time where you can kind of like shine some spotlight on your full story. Because I feel like there are still people that don't like understand just how much experience you have with cup stacking and how much of a veteran you actually are, despite you being only like 19, 20?
I'm 18.
18. Damn, I knew it was close because I always thought you were older than you actually were, because you act like it. I mean, you're very mature. But I think this is a little bit of time where we can give you some spotlight here. So just a very simple start to this question. How did you like learn about cup stacking? How did you get into it?
All right, so it dates back to 2007, before a lot of people in chat were born.
Well,
2000,
not I was born by then. I wasn't stacking by then.
right. So 2007, it's Christmas and I'm opening gifts and I get a set, and it's a single set of green tribals. And
Ooh.
I was talking to my dad about this. I talked to him about it a lot, and he said he took the cups, he stacked them before I ever did. He took them, he stacked them up in a tower, took it down, and he's like, all right, he's never gonna do this. He's gonna play with it for 20 minutes. It's gonna collect dust, and we're gonna sell it or throw it away in years. It'll be something that he just doesn't get into. It's plastic cups,
Right.
and it came with an instructional DVD, and slowly I began to play with the cups from Christmas to around January, February 2008. And I learned how to work the DVD player and the TV remote, and I would just watch the instructional DVD over and over again. And since I just turned 4, a month after Christmas, so I didn't understand what they were teaching me. I just copied their hand motions on the video, and yeah, ever since then, in 2009, I competed for the first time at Canada's Wonderland, right? So this is less than 2 years after I started. I won my age division. I still have the trophies for it. It was like a Coca-Cola sponsored tournament.
Oh, nice.
So I met some Team USA stackers. I met the Liao brothers, Kevin and Kenneth. And overall, that just opened so many doors for me. After that tournament, they my parents realized, all right, yeah, this is something that he could do for years to come. So years go by. Well, not years, months go by. I compete in Connecticut in the Winter Connecticut tournament, December 2009, and after that, I get invited to Team USA. So in 2009, I was on Team USA. I was gonna compete at the World Championships in 2010, but I stopped stacking for some reason. I took a break. I wasn't into it anymore. So my parents pulled me from the team. I stopped stacking from then up until around 2011, where the Canadian tournaments, they were getting really popular. So there were more and more. I went to Ontario, Quebec in 2012, and it was a Valleyfield 2012 tournament. I got a 744 in the cycle. I got 4th overall at that whole tournament. Also, that was the place where I met Tristan for the first time. So that was something that sparked, lifelong friendship. But besides that, that was really eye-opening for me. Doing so well when I was only around 8 years old. I was 7, 8 years old. And, I finally understood, my parents are paying money for me to do this. I might as well, make the most of it. So I kept practicing. I got back on Team USA in February 2013, just in time for Worlds. Went to Worlds, competed. I did very well, and nothing. I stopped again. And I stopped until around late 2013. And the reason why I stopped, I regret it so much, is because I got into competitive Mario Kart Wii, which I still play to this day, and I still play with the friends that I've met years ago, through Skype and all that. So I was playing Mario Kart. I never touched my cups until I had this Mario Kart YouTube channel, which is the channel I still have now, but it was Mario Kart branded back then. I uploaded a video called like coming back from my long break, and all my subscribers were people who play Mario Kart, so nobody understood what I was doing. But stackers slowly started to find my channel and were like, yo, welcome back, blah blah blah. So then from then on, I didn't stop. I just kept going. And sometimes I sit and I like to wonder how much faster, how much better I'd be if I never took the breaks that I took, if I went to Worlds 2010, if I got more experience competing. but I'm more than
Could have
grateful to
had
be
your
where
own
I am
dynasty. You
now.
could have been the actual stacker with the first four. Could have been you.
Honestly, I could have. I feel like I could have done so much more. I feel like I would have been, one of the top guys to consider one of the greatest of all time. I
And
feel
you
like I
still have
would
that
have been
time.
right up there.
I understand, Tyler. You are 18. You have that time. And understand what might not be considered something that I maybe I don't want to go off too much of a tangent for, but I still feel like we've put too much emphasis on the 2 warm-ups, 3 attempts format that we have, where I feel like with PYRA and with what other tournament organizers are going to do, cup, stack, case, say whatever, that is going to focus and lean more into that head-to-head competition, which I think is going to be really important, because that's really going to be the true, again, the true test. It's, sure, you can be the fastest stacker in the world. Doesn't really matter if you can't go up on the table and do it when they say go. So that's something else I like to measure by. But going back to your story as well, it's also kind of crazy to think it's like, what happens if he didn't know how to turn on that TV?
Hey, yeah, that's something I never really thought about that.
Yes,
Like, what if I didn't know how to put the DVD in?
He'd still be on Mario Kart Brandon.
Yeah,
Okay,
my parents told me like they never touched the DVD. It was only me, and they never
Wow.
touched the TV for that. It was only me. I learned how to work every DVD player, TV in the house, and stacked everywhere in the
crazy.
house wherever I could.
It's crazy.
So there's so much that goes into it. So many what ifs that really could change the way my whole career goes.
Yeah. Ethan, you were about to say something?
Oh no, I was just referencing chaos theory, the idea that like if you change the initial conditions of something, in this case, if Tyler doesn't learn to work the DVD player, then they could change everything. So it's just crazy to think of how things might have shaken up because of that.
Yeah, and my next question, kind of going into your story, was like, when did you like truly understand that you were like one of like the best stackers in the world? Like, because I still hold you to that pedigree now, but it's like, have you begun to see it like that yourself? And if so, like, was there ever a time where you truly felt like you were the best? Like, when did that start to come to realization for you?
When I realized that I was at the top, like at the top, like all time, I feel like I'm not even close to Stephen Peruginon, Emily Fox. They are pioneers of the sport, and I'll never reach that. But as far as like the current time when I thought, all right, I'm actually one of the best, was after I got my 520 for Connecticut.
I was about to say that. I was like, that was probably the turning point, because that was like,
It was
I think that was Connecticut 2016, right?
right.
Connecticut 2016, and I think Pauly was competing in that tournament as well.
No, he competed in 2018. That's
Oh,
when he came
2018.
back.
Yeah, that's right. We'll talk about that later. I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But I think there was somebody else that was like in the lead, like overall by like the slightest margins, and Tyler had to basically drop a 5.2 to win the tournament. And I think that's why you won the tournament.
Mm-hmm. So before that, I got my fastest time in tournament. I got a 561 in finals.
Yeah.
And there's a video. I was freaking out. I was so excited. Going into a cycle stack of champions, I knew I was the last stacker of the day, and I just wanted to put on a show, So everybody going into stack of champions, they want to sprint. But when I went into it, I just wanted to beat my time, I didn't think I was going as fast as 524, but once I got to around the 6-6 down stack, that's when it really kicked in. Like, I'm about to make history right here. And I was just, everything went so fast, but at the same time, it felt like slow motion.
Yeah, it was like both a blur, but you knew exactly what was going on.
And I still remember vividly, like, your reaction, like you were.
Oh yeah, I was losing it, bro. It was like, oh my god, how do they do that?
Like, man,
I can't even get a 5.
I remember running back after getting it. Like, I jumped as high as I ever did. And just I seeing everybody there. That was the first time I'd ever had a big crowd like that. Like, cheering me on. And like, I've always wanted to like get that feeling. So from there, man, it was, I don't know. It was just something I'll never forget. And that was when I realized, all right, yeah, I'm only going to get better from here. And then, Valleyfield 2017 happened where I got the 513. And, I think part of the reason why I've never beat that is because I thought, all right, it can't get better than this.
Right.
Like, I at that point I'm like, all right, I'm really lucky, because I had gotten pretty close multiple times, multiple 5.2s, 5.3s, and even a 523 with Gen 5, but um to this day I don't think I'll ever beat 513. So the 524 is when I felt like I knew I was one of the greatest, but then it started like after the 513 and after years of not being able to beat it, I'm like, was that all a fluke? Like if I didn't get 524, would I still be in the 5.3s right now?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that definitely helped my case, but at the same time, I've never really come close to beating 513 again.
Well, I
But
will say though, I think you were at PCS Double Down because I believe in the head-to-heads, like you were pushing Ian. I don't think people like it was a 10-3 scoreline, but those rounds were close. A lot of
I
them
got
were.
multiple 5.0s and 5.1s. I remember specifically it was 8-2. I got a 510 to make it 8-3.
There you go. New
But
best
I
in
know
tournament.
I got at least one 5.0 in that, and I got a couple 5.0s in like the whole thing. I know Tyler Fano pushed me, and that's why I had him in my power ranking because he pushed me
Oh
uh,
yeah,
to you know
that was
he
crazy, bro.
so good, man.
Yeah. Something I was gonna mention as well because I saw not in the current chat, but I've seen it before where people were like, "Why do you count that as like a time?" It was like, bro, he got the time. What do you want? Oh, are you upset because there's not a WSSA coach behind me, like looking
Like
for the time?
someone holding up a green card. It's like
Who cares?
Are you not
it's way harder to get it against somebody than
Yeah,
on your own.
exactly.
I mean, I was in the comfort of my own home, but I feel like I could do that in, you know.
Oh, 100%. I feel like you do better than that in person. And that's the crazy thing to think about Chen Keng Ian is like, that's what he can do in the comfort of his home, you know, where he's just behind a screen. What's going to happen where he's in full ass game mode in person against the best stackers in the world? I don't want to be across the table from him when that happens.
Right. I mean, that's something that I really want to happen. I really want to compete side by side with him. I've never met him before, but I know, you know, I, he's the best ever. He's the fastest, one of the fastest to ever do it. Um, I know I probably wouldn't win, but I had so much fun going against him, uh, in the final in Double Down that I don't know. I just really want to compete against him, whether that be in Singapore, whether that be at the next PYRA event, online, in person. But
Yeah.
I
And I think as well, there are going to be a lot of stackers that are going to transition from the online to in-person tournament experience and just get drastically better. And it's like where their online tournaments are going to be considered more of like a fluke, I guess, in a weird way. And I think a couple of stackers that come to mind, one was Tristan, because Tristan did, in all fairness, did terrible at Double Down. He just did not perform well. I'm not sure if it was an off day, but he got 1-3'd. I think like he lost to opponents he should be 10 times over. But I feel like when I see Tristan compete in person, he's a different breed. That guy's an animal. Like he's super fast. Consistency, there's your question mark. But still, like he's so fast and he gets on that pretty quickly. Another person that I actually had experience with when it comes to head at Oceanside this year was Andrew Dale. Holy hell, bro. It's like Andrew Dale in person, like online at Power Cup All Stars. He didn't compete at Double Down, but like at Power Cup All Stars, sure, not the most intimidating thing ever. Got top 8. We held him to much higher expectations, and he just didn't show us what we wanted from him. But man, at Oceanside, he was ripping people's heads off. It was daylight murder. He was doing so well. So I feel like he's another one of stackers like with you, with Tristan, with Andrew. Like the second you guys step into in-person competition, I feel like that's where Ian is really going to be pushed to perform at his best, because there will be no, online Discord buffer barrier. It's going to be in person. That's the moment. And I wonder how things are going to change. And speaking of, the PYRA tournaments and PCS Double Down, Tyler, this is where we're going to transition into, I think, arguably the most legendary round that we've ever had, easily in PYRA competitions, but arguably maybe one of the best rounds in competitive cup stacking history. You already know which one I'm talking about, the .001 round. It's the final round. Billy wins a surprising round against you, pushes it to a round 9, 4-4, and you guys go ballistic, both of you, in that last round. 5.762 on Billy's timer. That's where I thought, oh, wow, look at that. Billy just upset Tyler Hollis. I look at Tyler's timer, 5.761. I lose my mind. But I want to rewind this a little bit for you, Tyler. What was going through your head, like in the moment that you have to stack in that last round, all the way up until maybe just even that entire match against Billy? Like, what was going through your head all the way up until you get that thousandth of a second cycle?
Well, the way I treated it was in 2 warm-up 3 attempt situations. I've had many times where I'd have to get it on my 3rd attempt, so it was, do or die. I've been under that type of pressure before, and over the years I've learned how to handle it very well, and I just, I treat it like I'm practicing. I treat it like it's, no big deal, and at the same time I just tried to, keep my cups up without, having them fall down. But, not much was really going through my head until after the fact. And when I see his 576.2 and I just casually hold up my 576.1, and then it hits me, I'm like, oh, what? Like, part of me felt like I didn't deserve to win that, but because Billy went absolutely insane.
Yeah.
He deserved it so much. But yeah, not much is going through my head, especially in those pressure situations. I try not to think too much. I just kind of stack,
Yeah. And that's kind of the make or break round for you. It's like you either win this round or you lose it. Like you either keep going in the tournament, go and try and win it, or you're out. You're done. So like, how does the bracket shake up? If Billy wins that round, if it goes the other thousandth of a second the other way, like does Billy, begin to rain terror? Does Evan or Aurel shut him down? Like, how does the bracket change? But we'll never know because you won that round at the end of the day. So shout out to you. I know Billy to this day will probably never forgive you for that moment. It's jokes aside, I will give credit where credit is due. Shout out to Billy, because I think Billy is another one of those super underrated stackers that can just go the full distance if he's given the opportunity. Ethan, you look like you had something on the tip of your tongue.
I just want to say I absolutely love Billy's last comment, Staples Center, November 9th. Like, it's going to be like a whole, boxing match.
Bro, we got the whole Royal Arena set up just for that rematch.
We'll have a celebrity boxing match. We'll be the undercard to, KSI and his next opponent.
Oh, yeah. It's just like right before they come out, you both just come out with a set of cups and, a fold-out table. Got
hey, I mean, I'll do whatever.
You got Kaylee Dietrich just on the side with a stopwatch.
I'll put the gloves on. But no, dude, props to Billy. That was so fun. That was probably the most fun race I've ever had.
Yeah. At the same time, that's got to be terrifying as well. It's just like, it's the last round and there's money on the line. And it's just like, I just got to get a clean cycle here and I'll probably do it. But you also have to go fast because Billy's going fast. He's also pushing. I was so impressed with Billy that entire tournament. Props to him.
You're right. Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah.
Performance from him.
And I guess, this kind of goes into just the performance topic. Obviously, we can't talk too much on Billy's behalf. I'm sure we'll get him on the podcast one day and he'll go through what was going through his mind and the afterwards of emotions that had to go through him losing by a thousandth of a second. But to talk about more recent events, let's talk about juniors. Let's just get straight into the meat and potatoes of juniors. We talked about it a little bit before podcast. Obviously, performances are one thing, but the tournament itself was another thing. I've heard that this was one of the best juniors of recent memory for a lot of people. It seemed like a super enjoyable experience. I'm not going to be salty about it because I didn't go, because who cares? But for you guys, Ethan, did you go to juniors?
I did not go to juniors. No, I kind of considered going to help volunteer, but at the time, we actually weren't allowed to take any time off.
Work.
Collectively, we had requested so much time off that it pushed us into mid-August. So I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, people in chat are also saying it was their favorite tournament. Tyler, I think you got top 5 there as well. So that was top 5 there. And then, I mean, you've just been consistent with all of your performances recently, top 5 overall. And then on top of that, just overall for the personal experience, if you want to share a little bit about it, what stood to you for this juniors?
Well, as far as the competition goes, I got 6th, which
Damn it! I was so confident that you got top 5. Oh wait, I thought I checked this.
Close. It was Spencer that got 5th.
Oh wait, I think that's why I got it mixed up, because I think Spencer was the guy I took out of my power rankings in place of Tyler Fano. So maybe I was thinking of the wrong Tyler. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, competition wise, you know, I got a 550 something scratch because the 3 fell on my second attempt. That would have got me guaranteed top 3. So, you know, I did have a couple G5 moments in the
G5 moments,
especially with a 333, 363, and even cycle, just having to come down with your hands like flat, like you kind of pulled the stack closer to you, which made it fall towards me.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, shaky hands third attempt. The first time I had shaky hands since last North Carolina. It seems like that's one of the only tournaments where I consistently don't do well, which 6 is still pretty good, but to my standards, I got like a 10 something overall. That was like,
could have been better.
I was pretty disappointed for about a good hour.
Yeah.
But
it's always weird for me too, because there were those moments when I was younger with those tournaments where like I would just miss the mark or something, and I feel like that's when it hurts the worst. It's like if I completely blew the tournament, oh well, you know, we move on. But it's like if I do really well but just not good enough, you know, to miss out on that, like that top 5 or that top 3, or even just straight up winning the tournament, that's where it hurts. That's where it's the most painful. So I completely understand that there. And in fact, in a way, I share that with you. Connecticut 2017, I got 2nd, and that was arguably one of my best tournaments ever, if not straight up my best tournament ever. And funny enough, the year later, I got my second 5 in tournament, and it was like I was so close to getting that first 5 in tournament at that tournament, and if I had, I would have won the tournament. But I fumbled just the tiniest bit on the down stack, and bro. And then I completely bottled an SOC in all 3 of my stacks. I only needed to like get like 0.1 better in my overall to beat you, and I just couldn't do it.
yeah,
It was bad.
Connecticut, those tournaments were classics, you know.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't.
Connecticut's always a classic. I love Glenn.
Yeah, it's super fun. I wish they had the hype that they used to, but COVID, you know.
Something else I also want to mention about, because you were talking about it a little bit, and it's something I wanted to get into, was Gen 5. And I kind of wanted to, like, because surprisingly, I think Gen 5 is going on its first full year of being used in tournaments now. So I kind of wanted to get your guys' minds on Gen 5 in competition. And it feels like the biggest criticism to what I hear with Gen 5 is still 3-3-3. It's just that people are still struggling to kind of transitionally stop in 3-3-3. And everybody except William Morel apparently just can't, like, are just so much slower in 3-3-3, it seems. But do you guys share that sentiment? Do you think that Gen 5 is still as problematic as it was when people complained about it in the beginning? Or do you think it's calmed down a little bit? Because I don't have much, if any at all, experience with Gen 5, so I can't really talk on behalf. But Tyler, what, like, for you, what are your, like, pros and cons, I guess, in a sense, with when it comes to Gen 5 for its first year?
Gen 5, I'm so 50-50 on it. I really just don't care enough to really have that strong of an opinion on it. I personally perform decent with it in cycle, at least. 3-3-3 and 3-6-3, it's pretty hard, but you know, everybody's at that handicap, so I don't really care too much. You know, if I was the only one with that handicap, if I was like the only one not getting it down perfectly, then obviously I'd have a bigger problem with it, but that's more of a personal thing. But no, I guess the cons of it is that everybody's slower. But that's really my only con, you know. It's a good concept, like, I don't know, I just don't really care for the way that they went at, you know, they brought it after, you know, a year of no competition. Like, we're just dying to go to competitions, and then boom, they announce, you know, Gen 5, and then as soon as people are, you know, starting to be like, oh, I want to compete again, you know, I want to travel again, boom, Gen 5 hits, and it's like, oh, do I really want to compete again if all my times, like, I can't beat my times anymore?
Yeah.
Like, I think
and now I'm not the fastest stacker in Delaware anymore. I've lost my only, like, good thing about me stacking in WSSA tournaments. But yeah, jokes aside, it's like, I still feel that Gen 5 was, it had potential. It's just the execution of it was so garbage. It's just the way that everything went about it, the way that it just didn't seem to be clear communication with the stackers, with the community. It still makes, people feel like the WSSA and speed stackers just do not care about what the stackers actually think, because it had been months and months and months of complaints. People were straight up making petitions to like boycott the WSSA altogether, or like pull out the Gen 5, like something to change the scenery. It feels like, of course, at the time I told people to if you're going to do something, just do something, like actually physically do something about it. Because unfortunately, with a lot of the stacking community, to kind of call people out a little bit, it's a lot of talk and not a lot of action. Whereas a lot of the people in the community complain about things to the end of day, and then just once it gets to Forza, they're like, well, this sucks, and then just keep using it.
Right.
Which is unfortunate. I wish that people would be more vocal about things. I feel like I kind of laid a little bit more of the groundwork with being able to speak out about these things, even in this like podcast. Like, I don't want this to be like a drama or news podcast exclusively. I want this to talk about the stackers themselves. I don't want there to be more communication towards these things, which is like why I like the longer form content. But at the same time, it's like I can only do so much. PYRA can only do so much to change these things. At the end of the day, this is up to the stackers. If they really want something to change in the right direction, it's up to you guys. But Ethan, what about you? I know you've been very vocal for mostly against Gen 5, but like now that we've passed the year mark point of its enforcement, I guess, have your thoughts changed at all?
Well, first off, before I say anything about Gen 5, I really want to give a shout out to the community first off, because I think they have made the absolute best of what has otherwise been a very awkward situation, and that's definitely a testament to them and the amazing community that we have. Um, you know, my word only matters so much in this matter because I've never competed with Gen 5. I've used it here and there, um, and I part of me is trying to rationalize the WSSA's decision. I just Were I in charge of the WSSA, I just would have went about it much differently, because I think this all boils down to um, the community's vision for the sport versus the WSSA and Speed Stack's vision for the sport. In that wrist stopping and cup holds, you know, we obviously discourage wrist stopping and especially forearm stops, but it seems to me that they were discouraged for a long time, not because it posed a significant advantage or disadvantage for that matter, but rather because it actually increases the risk of injury. Um, and it's not, the WSSA really didn't provide a reason as to why wrist stopping or holding the cups matters, other than, they don't want the sport to look like that, even though, that's not really a sentiment that I think many of us share. Um, and again, I just think there were just a number of different possibilities that either weren't considered or were just written off, such as using more cameras. And I'm guessing I'm guessing that their reason for that was because of the cost of cameras. And to that, I just wonder why third-party footage is such a big deal, especially when the WCC, yeah, excuse me, when the WCA, the World Cubing Association, actually uses third-party footage for a number of the world records that they post.
And to clarify as well, the WSA has used third-party footage, specifically with a situation Tyler and I know all too well with Connecticut 2018. With our relay world record at the time, they used third-party footage, which is actually what ended up getting it scratched by their eyes. And this is something I still vehemently contest to this day because it's against their own rules to use third-party footage. And they even they said in the rule book, if they were going to use third-party footage, or sorry, if there was a situation where they could not validate the time, they would go with the judge's call. And the judge called it clean. So like that should have been a world record. I should have a plaque in the back of my room, but pettiness aside, even though I will never forgive them for that, that is something that like I still hold a grudge to this day. I fight with people about it all the time over the internet. I even see John's canal and check on, oh no. But that aside, I guess from my own standpoint, again, I don't really dislike the timer of Gen 5 as much as, like, I think it's a pretty harmless timer. It's another timer that goes to the thousandth of a second. Oh, wow, real new invention there, guys. I think it was just the execution of it all. Because, again, it seemed like the perfect timer for cubers. It seemed like the perfect way for cubers to actually start and stop the timer. And I think ASM2641 put it in his video. It's like, this seems like such backwards execution. Like, why would you have the 4-pad mode for stackers and the 2-pad mode for cubers when it should really be the other way around, when cubers are already starting and stopping the timer with flat hands and the stackers aren't, and they never usually have been. So now the stackers have to adjust. Not to mention, and this is just kind of a prefaced warning for the stacking community, and I'll probably touch about this more detailed in a later video, but from going to HOTlanta, I learned, and I'm not sure this has been changed yet or not, but I learned that you don't have to stop the timer when you stop your stacks with your thumbs on the thumb pads. You can just stop them with your palms. Now, that might sound like a huge pro. Enjoy it for the year and a half that you're allowed to, or for the couple of years you're allowed to. Because I cannot wait for the day and the moment when the WSSA says, hey, why are you guys not stopping the thumb pads with your thumbs? You should be doing that. In fact, we're going to completely wipe the board again of all the times that don't do that. So that means that William Morella is going to be light years ahead of people again. And it's just like, I feel like it's deja vu. People, please listen to me on this one. It's like, if you're going to hear me out about anything, it's like, this isn't an accidental move. The WSA very clearly understands that people aren't stopping the thumb pads with their thumbs. It's just a matter of time of when they feel like reinforcing it or reinventing the wheel, in quotes, to enforce that and slow people down again so that the sport doesn't get too fast and there's nothing to be entertained with. Because everybody loves new world records. We talk about in the Facebook groups and the Discord chats and the messengers and, you know, oh my God, Chen Kang-ian just got a new world record, even though that the time he just got isn't even faster than the world record he set like 4 years ago. So that's, it feels more of like publicity than it does anything else. And I'm just saying, as a warning to stackers, just be ready for this. Be ready to be told, hey, you're stacking wrong. But I think in fairness to them, on the same side of the rule, I think you have to start the timer with your thumbs. Like, that's, but like, why would you go it one way and not the other?
So what you can do, you can start it with your palms, but what you can't do is you can't use one hand to start the other thumb pad.
So you can start the timer with your palms.
Yeah, you can start like this as long as your right hand is on the right side, your left hand's on the left side, and you're not using either hand to go on different sides. Because people experimented with having a hand like this and then having their hand like reach over and touch the other pad to start it, while having their palm on the one, like with their thumb out.
Yeah,
that's not allowed. You have to have both hands down, both hands on at least the 2-pad. You can start it like this, and you can stop it like this.
John Rocco and John Scannell are both saying that they don't think that's right. They're going to look at it. John Scannell said he's going to look at it into it. Either way, regardless, I think if I understand it right, and as most stackers have been using, you can still stop the timer without touching your thumbs, because that's going to be extremely difficult for a lot of stackers to transition into that. So you can just stop with your palms. For now.
Personally, what I do, like, I start it so where it's really hard for them to judge where your thumb truly ends, because like when I start it, I have like this part of my thumb on there, which they could call this area your palm, you know. So I think it's a very like broad
all of these details to stop people from starting with their wrists.
Yeah, like they brought up so many more issues with getting, you know.
Again, this is kind of what the WC has been known for: solve one problem to create 10 more. Yeah. But pettiness aside, it's just like, again, I feel like if the WSA and speed stacks were run by actual top tier level stackers, this wouldn't be a problem. Like with PYRA, I'm using the KSA timers, or like the Yushin timers. I'm not sure which ones we'll be using for our next tournament. It's just like whatever works, whatever people want to do. But PYRA Cup First Strike, if you didn't want to use the KSA timers that I think we had for that tournament, you could walk up to the table with your Gen 4 or your Gen 5. We don't care. Use what timer you want to use. As long as it plugs into the display, I don't care what you use. Just as long as it works. But again, I just feel like this is, it sounds like a blessing right now until it's not a blessing anymore. So I just, bit of warning for people for the future of Gen 5. But I guess kind of transitioning out of that, one other thing I've been, kind of complaining a lot about, or just having conversations a lot about with the WSSA, and where I feel like they kind of fall short, is having stackers actually treat cup stacking like a sport. You can put sport in front of whatever the fuck you want, but I'm more so worried about putting sport in front of things, because what happens when the sport cubers hear about that? We're gonna lose our shit. Jokes aside, it's like, just because you put sport in front of sports stacking, that doesn't, like, it's not a get out of jail free card, guys. And also, to Wayne Godinay's own words, and he told me this to his face, Wayne Godinay, by the way, founder of the sport, you're not stacking sports, you're stacking cups. So why not just call it cup stacking? Which just makes it easier for people. And I could go on a whole tangent about cup stacking, sports stacking, is it truly a sport? Doesn't matter right now. More so, I guess the topic I wanted to highlight is, how can we actually get stackers to treat themselves and to treat this as a sport, to treat themselves as athletes? I don't feel like a lot of stackers truly see themselves as competitive athletes because they go to cup stacking tournaments. I'm not sure how many do. I'm not sure how many don't. I think what might be able to make people feel a little bit more confident to that is, would they be able to actually do competitive stacking full time? How are they going to be able to do it? It's like, I know cubers, WCA, that go all around the damn world for demonstrations, for world championships, for tournaments. They have sponsors on their shirts. They use specific brands of cubes. They can basically do whatever they want. They may have their own YouTube channels and brands, and they do it full time. They do it like for their job. I know multiple cubing channels that do reviewing products. Do we know any stacking channels that do reviewing, does reviews of things that doesn't successfully enough to make it their full-time job? That isn't like the WSSA's YouTube channel. I don't know of any. If you guys do, hey, great. Let me know. But I feel like where the WSSA has kind of missed the ball is giving stackers kind of the platform to make cup stacking full-time careers. And one part of that, one thing that I hope, if the WSSA ever steals anything from my formats, is the prize pools. And I say that in a joking sense, but seriously, like, if the WSSA is going to steal anything from me, or they're going to use one of my ideas, please steal the prize pools. Please start paying your goddamn stackers. Like, oh my God, it shouldn't be difficult. If you're spending $25,000 for a world championship venue, why can you not throw in another $5,000 for a prize pool? $5,000 is, I mean, come on, it's a world championship. People are paying that much just to get to the tournament. Like, I don't think it's as hard. And again, my last tournament's prize pool was $2,000. The winner of the tournament got $1,000. Chen Kang-Ian is balling right now because of me. You're welcome. And Tyler, I mean, you were a little bit too. You got $250, I think. I can't remember. How much did I give you for getting second? I think it was $250.
$250.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, even then, it's like people hear the prospect of getting $250, $100, $1,000, and they go like, "Oh my God, dude, that's so much money." $250, $1,000. That's not going to pay your bills. And that's not going to make sure that you can actually go to the college you want to. Those are the type of details I really want to emphasize on right now going forward. It's obviously really difficult because, as much as I think that cup stacking has potential wise, as a sport, it's still very small. It's still a very small sport. It's not even in the Olympics. We still don't have a lot of media coverage, and to most people outside of the sport, it seems more like a party trick than a competitive sport, which is kind of where the problem lies. It's like, Tyler, I don't think you got that college, whatever college you're going to. I don't think you got there because they saw your cup stacking capabilities and like, oh my God, you know what? Give this kid the full scholarship run. I think actually, correct me if I'm not wrong, you're actually there, like partially like you're exploring basketball right now as well.
Not playing basketball, but coaching basketball.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I know you play a little bit though. I've seen you ball.
Yeah, I play for fun. I don't take it seriously at all. I never have. I don't think I ever will. I just do it because my friends do it, and it's something that we can all bond over, and it's something that we can, you know, have learn things from. Like, we learn a lot from being on a high school basketball team. We learn a lot of what not to do, and I personally, being in a Potsdam, I learned what not to do as a coach. Considering most of the coaches I've had are awful coaches. Sorry, Mr. Coleman, but you're not good. But
Call
yeah,
him out.
Yeah, I'll call him out. But
Let him know.
yeah,
And I get. Sorry, go ahead.
I think as far as like cup stacking as a sport, like, I think the main reason why it's not a sport is because, take the NBA for example. They get the media coverage. They're on TV. They make revenue. Like, the National Basketball Association brings in enough money to be able to pay every single basketball player that makes it to the league at least $978,000 a year. For the dudes that have a full, like, multi-year contract that ride the very end of the bench, they make $978,000 a year. The lowest is they can make. So they, like, the veteran
Literally $1 million
minimum
contracts.
is one point, like, majority of players that don't play make $1.62 million
For being
and
a bench warmer.
for being a bench warmer. Yeah, because when you look at it, those players are the top 99% in the world. They're closer to LeBron James than we are to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, when you think about, cup stacking, first of all, obviously the money's not there. So it'd be really hard for cup stackers to have it full time if we're just looking at, like, the WSSA. But who knows where PYRA could go? Who knows what could branch off of PYRA? And the money might be there one day, Honestly, I'm pretty confident that in a couple years there will be consistent tournaments every year with pretty high, cash prizes.
That's the hope.
And
at
a lot
least.
of that, is thanks to you and PYRA and everything that, the whole PYRA has done. Personally, if I had a choice, I'd compete in PYRA, but
Oh,
that's like, there's just so much that goes into it for, I think everybody would agree with me as well,
Yeah, I agree with you on media coverage, but another thing I wanted to touch into as well that kind of ties in with media coverage was, I don't want to sound, I'm going to sound very facetious when I say this, but I feel like rivalries are not intense enough yet. And that's where I think the head-to-head, like, relay competitions, once we start delving into that field, because I mean it when I say we are at some point in the future going to have relay-only tournaments where it is one team versus the other. Somebody wins, somebody loses, but their team's a 4 or 5 or some shit like that. And like, that's where we start pulling out drafts. That's where we start building teams. We get team captains before the tournament's even started, like things like that, so that teams have time to practice with each other. And that's where we start bringing people, we start bringing all these teams in for like scrimmage tournaments and stuff, like for the days before, for media, things like that. But like, I have these ideas in mind, of course, with PYRA. And I feel like that's just one part of it. Of course, media coverage is going to be huge there. And part of the problem is, getting the funding there to get us started, to get the ball rolling. Because once the ball is rolling, hey, we're down the hill, we're getting there. It just needs to get off the ball. Like, that's where we still are kind of right now. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Like, I've been ripping the bar, like talking to every single sponsor, tier 2, tier 1 sponsors. Like, I've literally reached out to like PepsiCo and Coca-Cola brands directly. And I've also reached to, some of my other sponsors. Shout out to Advanced. I've talked to all different types of brands and sponsors and things for financial compensation, and they're kind of in the same way. It's kind of like getting a job. It's like, well, you need job experience to get this entry-level position. It's like, well, that just makes things easy. It's like, how am I supposed to work here at McDonald's if your minimum, entry-level experience is 2 years? Yeah. How am I supposed to get experience if it's an entry-level job and I can't get the entry-level jobs because I need experience? You guys get it. But I do truly want at some point to have that kind of system where that's where I feel that a franchised cup stacking league is in the best interest of everybody involved. It's in the best interest of the sport. It's in the best interest of the stackers. It's in the best interest of the organizations that come into this, because I think that cup stacking is just one of those sports that, like, once it does reach the mainstream media, once it is on ESPN every Friday, Saturday night, once it is wherever it goes in the future, it's going to be one of the most explosive sports, especially just because of its accessibility. And that's going to mean that stackers are going to be able to do this full time. Stackers are going to be incentivized to be on these top tier organizations that already have hundreds of millions of dollars of funding because they're connected with football and soccer organizations that have that funding to make these things possible. It just needs to get there, and it's going to take time. Things like this do, like Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. But I do have that as a priority, and I want to make it clear that like $1,000 grand prize is, or like even like $1,000, $2,000 prize pool is very, very far from what I feel like this sport can accomplish. I feel like there is a situation where in a couple years, couple decades, whatever it is, where these stackers are literally fighting for millions of dollars. And I want us to get there. I want to get there too. I want to be rich. I want to get there at some point. Ethan, I feel like we haven't brought you into this conversation. We're gonna really back in here. But like from your perspective, what do you think it's gonna take for stacking to be able to be full time for not only the people behind the scenes, but obviously the stackers themselves?
So I imagine you guys will probably have different answers for this question. So what in your guys' mind is the number one criticism you've seen personally used against sports stacking?
It's just a game. It's just a game. It's just stacking cups. It's just yada, yada, yada.
That is basically my sentiments in that. So there's two aspects to this. First off, speed stacks really has marketed themselves more as a toy, and I've touched base on this a little bit in the group. I actually proposed that speed stacks should change their word mark because the current word mark reminds me way too much of like Nerf, and I think it just looks like a toy. It's making it so obvious that it's a toy, and they're not taking it
Marketed
serious.
towards kids.
Right. But the other aspect of that is stacking for a long time, especially on the internet, has been wrongly defined, in my mind, for its linearity, and that everyone says it's just the same sequence over and over and over again. We as stackers know, we just know that stacking is not nearly that transparent, that there is so much more nuance, so much more depth to the sport that I feel hasn't been explored. I really feel like the theory of stacking, um, you know, comparing different methods, coming up with new strategies, is not something that's really been explored enough. What rhythm and style combination goes best, for example? I mean, how do we even define a rhythm and a style? I mean, you hear people use these terms all the time. Oh, his rhythm is so smooth, his style is so smooth. And, most people wouldn't know the difference in that a style is a visual interpretation of the sequences, and rhythm is sort of an auditory um, phenomenon in that certain stackers progress through each sequence, and the succession is different. Um, and actually, that is actually a project that I am working on, which I will announce in coming weeks or so. But overall, I just think we really need to treat it as a sport, and of course, part of that also is how it's marketed in the media. Kian, I think you've done a great job in branching out to different advertisers and different sponsors, and I think that is a great step in the right direction to legitimizing stacking as a sport.
Yeah. And I think we'll get there. I think it's just, again, it's one of those, it's a matter of time type of things. And as much as I kind of want to rip the WSA for keeping their format for so long and not even exploring other types of formats, I don't blame them to an extent. When you have all the cards, you have all the say, and you're going to get the same stackers coming into your tournaments, like what else do you have to really worry about? When it keeps you afloat, I worry about the future of the sport. I see way too many stackers coming in and coming back out that don't put their 100% into the sport. Shit, when I go to tournaments, I don't practice for tournaments anymore. Well, I don't now because I'm retired, but like even like back a while ago, like I didn't really like super focus, prioritize practice. But if you told me, hey, Kian, this tournament's coming up in a couple weeks and there's a $10,000 grand prize, something like that. Oh, okay. well, when can I sign up for scrims? It's like, then I start to focus a little bit more. And the small things like that, it's like, again, $10,000 isn't going to set you up for the rest of your life unless you just hit the lottery, and you get really lucky, or you are a stonks person. I don't know. But it's a good setting stone. It's going to get you all the equipment you need. It's going to help you take the next step in your own life. It's going to do whatever it's going to need to do for you. And it's going to help people branch out and start to step up and obviously do a little bit more with their money. And one of the saddest things I ever heard when I was talking with Kian, when I think it was like either directly after or in the weeks after, when he won PYRA Cup All-Stars. The grand prize then was only $250. And I mean, that's still something. I'm sure that, but like when I said, what are you gonna do with this prize money? First thing he said is, oh, I'm gonna probably buy some new cups because my cups kind of suck. No, it's like, it was just such a frustrating answer to hear because of how much talent Kian has and the fact that he has his own brand of cups and he still needs to go and buy new cups. That's an entire other tangent for another day, because we do have other topics we need to move on to. But I guess kind of also leaning into tournaments as well. We've kind of touched base a little bit with what we own, talk about our current visions of the tournament. Tyler, I want to talk to you about this and kind of ask you, like, you've shown a lot that you really like the PYRA format of tournaments, but if you were to host or you were to go to your dream tournament, like either as a tournament host or as a stacker, like, what does your dream tournament, what does the perfect tournament look like to you?
So my dream tournament, I thought about this, and since I'm so used to 2 warm-ups, 3 attempts, I would want that as part of my dream tournament, more as like a 2-part tournament. Day 1, 2 warm-ups, 3 attempts. You can set records that go on a leaderboard. That's day 1. Day 2 is where PYRA comes in with the head-to-head, and then you can win cash prizes on day 2. So a 2-day tournament where you get the best of both worlds. You can set world records and you can win cash prizes. So you could walk away with 3 world records. You could walk away with $1,000. You just get both. Now, if I had to choose between one, I'd obviously choose the cash, because what's a world record if it's just gonna be erased when the new timer comes along? But yeah, I just I would need money involved, man. I've been doing this for so long, and I've only ever made $250 doing it.
And all of it was from PYRA.
Yes. It took that long to get $250 damn dollars, man. That's what frustrates me so much, is that we put so much money into it, haven't made a penny back up until I won $250.
Yeah.
And it's only gonna go up from there. If I keep doing good at these events, it's only gonna, then like the $250 covers probably 3 tournament registrations, which is kind of crazy, like 3 or 4 tournament registrations,
Which is absurd because you're like in the top 10 overall stackers in the world, right?
For G5, I'm 3rd. For Gen 4, I was 6th.
My God. Okay, wow, that was even crazy. So you're top 5 in one category, top 10 in the other, and they can't even cover registration for you.
Right, yeah,
like don't you want these stackers to show up? And like
you gotta pay to keep your name on the leaderboard, which is ridiculous. I think that might be the only sport in history where you have to pay to stay at the top. Pay to win.
Kind of literally pay to win.
You gotta pay to win.
Oh man. And that's a great answer, by the way. I really like, because I don't want to get rid of the 2 warm-ups, 3 attempts format. That's not my goal here. And in fact, I think that still has its place in the sport, but more so of a qualifier. It's got to figure out where you are to be placed with the other stackers that compete. And in fact, what we did with PYRA Cup First Strike, Ethan will tell you about this. We did something called consistency trials. It was 1 warm-up and you did 3 attempts. It was more so like 3 rounds. And how it worked was, the first warm-up was just like your general warm-up. Instead of getting 2, you got 1. And you did it for 3-3-3, 3-6-3, and cycle. And instead of just taking your best time, whatever it was, we would take your median time. So let's say you did 3 attempts for 3-3-3. You got a 1.6, a 1.7, and a 1.8. We would take out your best time and we would take out your worst time. So you would take out the 1.6 and the 1.8. Your set time for that stack is the 1.7. So it really focuses on your consistency. So like if I have 2 straight 1.6s in a row and I'm satisfied with whichever one I get, I can just go all out for my 3rd attempt, you know, and just ball out just because why not? And I still have a solid time there either way. And same thing for 363, same thing for cycle. And that kind of determined where you will put in the tournament. If you had really solid consistency trials and you set yourself up really well, you're going to go against the other, you know, tier 1 top stackers. If you didn't do so well, you're going to go against the tier 2, the tier 3. Like it would set you up in that kind of category. So you're going to go against stackers with the best consistency and best speed. Basically that. And I think even then, the consistency trials, we would probably have to expand it a little more because I think 3 attempts is too few attempts. And it's a little like, if you're even the slightest bit too shaky on some instances, then you won't get the most satisfactory times. Ethan, I know you balled out, bro. You got like 3rd in the qualifiers. You did really well.
Well, I think it also really represented, you know, just how good I am in the timed format that's been used, the time trials format compared to the head-to-head format, which I think is really more telling about my ability. And
hey, you got put against the best stackers. There is nothing against that. And in fairness, PYRA Cup First Strike, I could have done that tournament better, at least in the terms of the bracket, because I felt like the bracket was a little bit unfair. But at the end of the day, Ethan went against the best stackers. He put on a good show for it. You know, there's nothing to be upset about in that tournament, regardless of the result.
6.
Hey, you're good. You're good. You went against Trey and Evan. I probably, like, in the group stage, I probably would have done the same thing, because it's Trey and Evan.
You beat them in bracket.
I beat them because I got super duper lucky, and I also got, like, a really clutch 5.5 at one point, so I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one. But moving aside that, Tristan actually posted something in the chat. And John, to comment to him as well, can we call them time trials? Of course you can call them time trials. I don't care what people call them. I kind of just called them preliminary. I called them time trials or consistency trials. You can call them what you want. It's the trial to set the bar for you as to where you are. That's all you need to know. But Tristan, something that he pointed out was no companies related to cum stacking have made profit. Surprise money won't be happening ever. That is wrong, for one. And the company that I can tell you, the KSSA literally got money from the government, from the Korean government, to go around and do demonstrations and sell products. Like, from the South Korean government. That's just one example. But at the same time, even let's say that he's absolutely right there, and he's mostly right there, that most cup stacking companies have not made profit. PYRA has not made profit. We have made some revenue from it, but not profit. So we're spending more than we are getting. That's not really as important if you look into the grander scheme of things, because profit is not the only thing that determines a successful company. And in fact, if you look at Amazon, the only reason, I think somebody DC'd.
Well, I got to plug in my computer real quick.
Oh, you're good. Don't worry, I have set the setup for it, so they'll be back in just a second. But like, if you think back to Amazon had to bleed a lot of its revenue just to get to where they are today. Think of a lot of the Amazon branded products that people have in their house. One of the most common ones that stackers use is their batteries. The batteries, you get those in like the 16 packs. They're way cheaper than the other brands of batteries because Amazon's selling them at a lower cost. They're actually bleeding in the sales, which is what it's called. So that way they can basically take over the entire market and make a profit off of it.
Sound familiar?
So that's just kind of one way with it. Are we back? Are we working? I may have to rejuggle this a little bit. Okay, I think we're good. I think Tyler went off camera for a second, but that's just one way of it. And at the same time, hi Kirby. Prize money is not like a super bad thing. Like, if you're going to give the stackers anything, a couple $100 in the prize pool, even if it's not focused on the directors, it's just one variable over the other. Okay, yeah, fair. You got me there. And it's not the entire company that got funded by the government, just for clarification, but another thing as well, I kind of want to emphasize into that is these tournaments are expensive. Like juniors, worlds, these are expensive tournaments. And you're already putting a lot of money into this. Whether either it's the WSA or the tournament directors themselves. Unfortunately, a lot of the time it is the tournament directors. So them having to put a lot of money into cup stacking as a whole is just kind of, it's unfortunate for them, but I know that the WSA has those resources to where you could throw some money to the top stackers. Like, and I'm not saying like everybody who competes. I'm like, if you can get trophies for the top 3 stackers overall, if you can get them those super fancy trophies, I'm sure those stackers would much happily take, you know, a $250 gift card. I'm pretty sure most competitors would take that option over the fancy trophies that they're going to have to figure out how to get home. Or the leaf of corn or whatever it was that Kareef got at Des Moines when he beat me in juniors stack out. Just completely random tidbit, but I think that there's space for it. Again, for the whole prize pool argument, Tristan, if I can do it, the WSSA can figure it out. Again, I had a $2,000 prize pool and I didn't even profit from like any of the broadcasts. I did make some money from it, but not profit to, you know, compare the margins. What about PYRA mediums? Call those PYRA mids.
I think your idea is mid, John. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay. So we, I guess to kind of complete my ramble, because I feel like I've been rambling a little bit more. I do apologize if that's what it seems like. We want to go into our next topic, and this actually isn't a topic. It's a game that Ethan brought to us last broadcast. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's everybody's favorite game. Guess That Stacker. Woo! Fake applause for an audience that isn't here. I'll eventually have a sound effect for that. But Ethan, he brought this to us last time. And basically, he's just going to give us subtle hints to what the stacker is, and we have to guess like specific things about the stackers until we figure out who it is, glue things together. And yeah, Ethan, I'm going to let you take the reins on this one. Tyler and I will be our contestants. Tyler, if you beat me, you will get absolutely nothing because I have nothing to give you. I don't know. I'll think of something. But yeah, the winner might get something cool if I can actually muster something together. Ethan, go for it.
Okay, so this is actually going to be a stacker's overall performance at a tournament. So this has 2 answers. You have to name the stacker first off, and the tournament where they set this time at, this overall.
Oh, God.
Right. So this first stacker, this was his last tournament of one of the most dominant seasons in sports stacking history I think we've ever seen. He actually set 3 world records that day. The overall is 8.662. Go.
Okay, so I'm going to just start by saying William Morrell.
Yes.
Okay, well, 50% of the way there. Shit, 8.662.
I think I know what tournament this is.
Go for it.
I think is it Maryland 2014?
That is a good guess, but no.
Is it? Oh God.
I'm sorry. Not season. It was the last tournament of the year.
Oh, okay. It was in either the end of 2016 or end of 2017, right? End of 2016? No. Oh shit.
I'll give you a hint. 2 of the world records were in the relay.
Oh. That confuses me even more.
So.
I don't remember what the tournament was called, but I know which tournament this is. It was the last tournament of 2015, right?
You're close.
Was it 2014? I have no idea what the tournament was called.
It was Virginia, 2014.
Arlington, Virginia, something like that.
Yeah, it's where he got 5'10", right?
It was William Morrell's performance at Nation's Capital 2014.
I would have never guessed that name.
He stacked 5'10", and then the relay teams stacked the first ever 12 in tournament. They stacked a 12.95.
And then the 12.55?
Yeah, and then the 12.55.
That was good. I'm gonna be honest, it's gonna get a little bit too complicated for my small brain. If we do overall of a tournament, but I think I'm gonna go with my next stacker. In fact, let me just look a little look-sees.
I thought this was gonna be like last time, where like we could see what he was typing.
Yeah, I had to figure that way around because I was actually I have to share my screen so they can see what's actually going on in the broadcast, and I may or may not have accidentally shared my answer. So I had to come up with a different answer. So give me a second to think. Chat, you can play as well. You guys will earn bragging rights and absolutely nothing else, but feel free to play along. So this stacker, okay, so this stacker, I was gonna do like a specific achievement at a PYRA tournament, but then it kind of, you know, you can shorten down the list a little bit too easily. I'm really thinking here. Tyler, do you have anything set? Basically just be between, okay, so I have to think of something. Okay. So this stacker got, okay. So this stacker competed in a PYRA tournament. This is for a PYRA tournament. You guys are going to guess which stacker it was, and you'll get bonus points as to where they placed at the end of the tournament. But the time that they got was 5.529. Or I think it was 5.52, actually, I think it was 5.528, excuse me. And it was at a PYRA tournament.
It was at a PYRA tournament. In person?
Huh?
Was it like an in-person PYRA tournament?
I feel like that's gonna give like way too, it's gonna shorten down the options way too quickly.
Is it Trey?
Trey, no.
5.529.
Wait, I might know.
5.528, excuse me.
528. Was it Caden?
Who?
Caden?
Caden? Caden Gonzalez?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Good guess though.
I think of people that have competed in PYRA can get 5.528 like in a PYRA tournament. I think Naoki.
Naoki? No. I'm gonna give you guys one more minute. Yes.
What was it? Evan?
No.
It was not Evan.
It was close. That's a good guess. It was close.
Okay. All right. My last guess.
Do you guys need one more hint?
Yeah.
Okay.
Small hint.
What was that?
Small hint.
Small hint. This is this stacker's best time currently in a tournament per cycle.
Is it you, Kian?
Yep. That's why I didn't want to answer the first strike question, because it would have shortened down the list way too much. And that's currently me. Let's go. 5.528. I think it's 5.528. Couldn't be 5.529 because that's an odd number and it goes by decibels of 4. Yeah, so I guess that point goes to Ethan. So I think everybody's tied at 1 point. Tyler, it's your turn.
Okay. Ooh. So my stacker, man, I'm trying to think about like a very low key tournament that they went to. Is it okay if I like look it up real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I have a tournament in mind for this stacker.
I had to look up my answer as well.
I should have looked for my answer before we started the broadcast, but oopsie doodles. But whilst Tyler's doing that, I want to thank PYRA's primary sponsor, Advanced GG. Fun fact, Advanced GG is the only energy drink company, and they make really good products. So if you guys go check out advanced.gg and you guys use code PYRA at checkout, as you can see, Ethan is drinking some to the side. I'm currently drinking some Sir D sour watermelon, and let me tell you. That gets me through my day. If I don't have my advanced, I'm grumpy. Might be my caffeine addiction, but we're just gonna put that aside. Tyler, have you found your answer?
So I have the stacker that I want. So should I give hints as in like just like small hints based on the
Just give
tournament,
us the
like this-
baseline, and then we'll get the hints throughout.
All right. So this stacker is a very consistent stacker.
Okay, so it can't be
at
Tyler.
just-
I'm kidding.
Wow.
at just about every tournament, you know, you see the stacker. Well, at one point you saw him at a lot of tournaments. Always performing very, always performing very well, but not so much at the top. But occasionally, got the first place. But
Okay.
that's my first hint.
Okay. And do you have? Are we going based off like an overall, or are we going based off of a specific time?
I didn't really have too much of a specific time, but if I did choose a time, I would probably choose. Oh, this might give it away. I would choose stacking league. He was good in stacking league.
It's stacking league.
Trey is very consistent in every competition he goes to. Is it Trey?
He is consistent. No, it's not Trey.
Dang.
That's a really good one though. I mean, it basically does fit the description for Trey, but
Okay, this might be. Is it? I was like stuck between two answers. I'm gonna go with the. Is it Karif? Really? Let's go!
It's
Stacking league, let's go, baby. Oh man.
yeah, as soon as I said stacking league, like I gave it away. But
Well, I was thinking of stacking league. There's only so many people that competed in stacking league. In fairness, and I knew
Yeah.
it wasn't me because I casted stacking league. And the only other person I was thinking of was Peter because Peter was really good. And then I remembered, oh wait, he was running stacking league in the background after. I think it was either G-Wave stepped back or G-Wave was doing something else, so he had to do it.
yeah,
all right.
Grief. Especially New York Minute 363.
Oh yeah, bro. Mans was a menace.
Uh-huh.
All right. So I think that means I have the lead. I have 2 points. The rest of you guys have 1. Therefore, I win. I am the best. Thank you guys all so much for watching.
Done.
Bye. I'm kidding. Actually, I think it's fair. We only do one more round. Ethan, did you have an... I'll wait for him to put his headphones back on. Ethan, by chance, do you have another one you can set us up with? And then Tyler and I will think about our answers. This one's going to be for chat mostly.
Gotcha. I think I can come up with another stacker.
Okay. One more. All right.
But I do
First
need
In
to check,
chat.
I do need to check their overall.
You need to check their overall.
Yep.
Oh, hey, and Karif's in chat. Speaking of the devil.
What's up, Karif?
What's
Hey,
up?
Grief.
Yeah, I was initially going with Karif because he said like, it's like when he said the winning tournaments thing, I was like, Karif hasn't won that many tournaments, and I kind of remember it was like he was dominant in the Philly tournaments for the longest time. I'm not sure how good or bad he was at stacking league. I thought it was pretty solid, but
He was one of the ones where I never wanted to face him.
yeah, that's why I was glad I became a caster before. You know, a lot of y'all were set off because then it's like Aurel got involved in a couple of them, I think, and then you got involved, and
I got him whenever you guys are ready.
okay. All right, let's go. All right, chat, you're going to play along with us. We're going to make our own answers. But chat, this is going to be 1 minute, 30 seconds on the clock after Ethan gives his answer. All right, Ethan, go for it.
Alrighty, everybody. So no specific tournaments this time, just the stackers overall in 2-pad mode. This stacker has been a longtime veteran and is a beloved member of our community. He is one of the most purely talented stackers I've ever seen. Is just take on any freestyle and just dominate it. The overall, let me check this again, is 8.119.
I think I know it already.
I think I know it too. But we're not gonna guess. Chat, you guys go ahead and boil up your guesses, and then Ethan will reveal it. In fact, I'll write my answer down on the side here. Tyler, you can do the
write
same as
mine.
well. I have a feeling we're all like so far off the mark here, but Ethan, you're gonna let us know. All right, everybody, final chances to get your guesses in.
I think I nailed it.
5, 4, 3. I don't know how to do this. 1.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to revote first, or do you want to go first, Tyler?
You can go first.
Okay. My guess was Jesse Horn. Second, he said freestyle. That's when I heard
And Tyler, your guess?
Jesse Horn.
And you two, in addition to many members of the chat, are indeed correct. It was Jesse Horn.
Let's go.
I knew it.
There we go.
I was thinking either Jesse or Dalton.
Yeah, I was thinking it was either Jesse or Andrew.
Jesse is watching Jesse do freestyles. He could just pick up any freestyle and then within
just crazy
30 minutes just destroys it. I'm like, it's crazy, man.
Yeah. But also shout outs to John. I think John got like all of them pretty instantaneously with Guest to Stacker. John's also been pretty consistent in our chat as well. So shout outs to John Scannell, excuse me. I always get that wrong. I'm sorry. I get most names wrong. So John, you have officially won half a bag of Takis Fuego chips. Enjoy it while it lasts. But with that put aside, that is going to conclude our primary topics and talking point for the second episode of the PYRAcast. So now, chat, we're going to hand it over to you in our Q&A section. So if there's anything you want to ask one of the best stackers currently in the world right now, Mr. Tyler Hollis, want to ask us about anything, or you just want to talk about PYRA, cup stacking, whatever you want talk about in the world, we got a couple more minutes to share, and then we're going to wrap this baby up. So, chat, now is your time. Bring it over. Ethan, I'm actually going to hand this over to you whilst we wait for chat to boil up some questions. Did you have anything you wanted to ask, talk about, Tyler, anything like that?
Everyone's already asking when like the next tournaments are going to be for PYRA.
Trying, guys. I'm trying.
Tyler, I guess the question I would have to ask you, it could be in terms of experience or in terms of performance or a combination of both, what your favorite tournament ever was.
Favorite tournament ever? I think it has to be. This is really tough. Houston 2020. 2021. Houston 2021.
That was a great tournament. That was an amazing tournament. I think
that was the most fun I ever had.
I thought you were gonna say Juniors 2018 as well. Because I remember you having so much fun at that tournament.
That was so much fun. Those two juniors are probably my two favorites like ever. I tried not to choose the one I won just because it seemed like I chose
a little bit of bias there, yeah.
But I mean, I did get third in Houston, so it's not. But yeah, definitely either one. I thinking about it, I really can't choose because
yeah,
I did such different things in both tournaments where it's like can't really compare them, but
right.
Yeah,
and there's a
juniors in general is probably the most fun.
Gotcha.
From John Scannell in chat, what color cups did you use at your first tournament? Can you even remember the answer to that, Tyler?
I used purple cups at Canada's Wonderland. I have a photo. I'll pull it up, or Kian, I can send it to you if you could like put it on the screen. If you're able to.
That's a lot of effort. You can just prop it up on your phone. It's a little bit small production here, guys, for the PYRAcast.
Yeah. I'll pull it up from my first ever tournament.
Whilst you do that, if you can only have one set of any cups that you can use for the rest of your stacking career, what would they be, Tyler? One set.
Kind of think of durable sets as well.
Good luck with that.
Oh, there aren't any durable sets.
No such thing.
Well, I guess a set that's lasted me a really long time are the red, white, blue pros. That just came out. I've had mine for like a year or two now, and the logos are just starting to fade off, and I use them all the time. Like whenever I stack, those are the cups I use. So probably a set of those, definitely.
Okay. All right, Ethan. What about you?
Actually, it's probably the set that I'm currently using. It's the KSSA yellows. Actually, it was impossible to remove the logos with soap, but with a little bit of Goo Gone, that wasn't an issue.
Bro, KSSA yellows are so good once you get those logos off.
They're ridiculous.
Yeah, my first ever tournament.
Oh man,
I was standing on my tiptoes.
I thought that was kind of like the Michael Haig, like the little Boosted stand. I'm surprised you were actually able to get up on your toes on that one.
Also, Tyler, how
you
did
know.
you do that? You stacked it in exactly 0 seconds.
Wow.
Like, dude.
No, yeah, this guy was asking me how I did it, you know.
Bro.
No, yeah, it was yeah, here's me with all of my trophies, all first place.
Let's go.
Some cold photos came out of this tournament, like this photo right here, me not even looking at the camera, just admiring the trophies.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
then there's a couple more. This one's one of my favorites too.
Oh man.
Look at Kenneth. Look at his haircut.
Watching me. And we also have it on VHS tape too. We have
oh man.
a little
All
tape
VHS.
of the whole tournament.
Bro, half the stackers in chat don't even know what that is.
Yeah, they've never seen it in their lives before. We got this big bulky camera that took little tapes, and I like to go back and I like to plug it in the TV, watch the tapes from my first ever tournament.
Yeah. To pinpoint on somebody else's question, there were a couple different questions chat asking about future tournaments, but one I wanted to pinpoint was, will there be any PYRA tournaments in the UK or anywhere else in the world? So for starters, absolutely. I do want to have more competitions all around the world. A couple of the regions I actually want to expand to right now is the UK is one. I want to expand to South Korea. I actually want to look at Australia as well right now, because I know there are stackers in Australia that would be up for that, but it's just a traveling thing for stackers outside of Australia. New Zealand's another location I wanted to, but I like that you bring up the UK because I know another stacker, I won't name names, that is actually trying to set up something with either myself, with PYRA, or with Cupstack, or a tournament in the UK, and I think he's like about to go full send on it. I'm not gonna name names, but I'm very excited to see what he does with it. Unless he's already announced it, but I'm not gonna, get too far into that. And then for Tyler, or to Tyler, where do you start to define a stacker as a professional? Good question.
Well, first of all, I guess when you compete, you're not a professional basketball player till you play your first professional basketball game. You're not a professional athlete till you play for the first time, So I guess once you compete, once you set a benchmark for yourself, that's when you become a professional. Because if you compete in a sport, you become, if you compete in the highest league you can, which here it's still the WSSA at this point, but 2 years, like a year or two from now, no, it won't be. But that's what I gotta say.
I like the gas there. Thanks, bro.
Yeah. But yeah, once you compete in a tournament, it's the highest level you can. That's when you're a professional.
There you go.
That's what I deem a professional.
Somebody else put another question. If you could host a tournament anywhere in the world, where would it be? If I could host a tournament anywhere in the world, knowing that stackers would either come to it, be invited to it, whatever, they would be there at the tournament, and I get all of the top stackers I want to, Germany, without question. I love the culture that Germany has. And not only that, knowing that the German stackers would be there. I love the Germans, bro. They're so awesome. Those are very cool guys down there. And yeah, Germany would definitely be one of those places because I feel like we need to expand a little bit more. I feel like we go to a lot of the same regions. And in fairness, Germany is a pretty common region as well. But, that's definitely one of the places that I'd like to see stacking more developed. That, and then probably somewhere in South America as well. I feel like South America doesn't get enough attention. Maybe like Mexico. Not as far down, but like just kind of starting to develop more of the South American scene for stacking as well. I think that'd be cool.
I would love to have a tournament in Antarctica.
Cups would turn to glass before you could even start the tournament, bro. Oh, this is a good question from John Scannell. Excuse me. What junior city is the best? Great question. Des Moines, Iowa. We can finish now. Thank you. I've always loved Des Moines. There are a couple probably personal biases. I also love Virginia as well. But what do you guys think?
Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach.
The most beautiful place they had it. There's the most to do, and then Houston's a close second. But Virginia Beach, it's the best. Weather's nice.
Oh yeah, Houston. I mean, come on.
It's not too hot like Houston. There's just so much to do. when you're there, you're kind of like, damn, I'm really here competing. Like, like when I go to like Detroit or something, it's like, man, do I really have to go to Detroit? But it's like Virginia Beach. It's like, wow, they really got me going to Virginia Beach. Oh, that's cool. So that's the type of stuff I look forward to, even though it'll never happen again because they took it off the rotation. But
Ethan, what about you?
Houston.
Houston.
Houston's just such an amazing city, and it's the one thing I will say about Houston, like when you look up, like, because I remember Carson and I think it was John Powers, and they were like wondering like if there were like any BJs in Houston, and they looked it up, and it's like, yeah, there are BJs in Houston. The thing about Houston is that like the metropolitan area is so like enormous that just because it's in Houston, that doesn't mean it won't be like 3-4 hours away. So I was like, oh geez, this is a big city. No, but and the venue was really awesome in Houston as well. The hotel we were in was really nice. Yeah, it was definitely my favorite venue for juniors so far, favorite location.
Okay, I got a couple really good questions to add to as well. I'm going to add one more thing before we get to those questions. If it was ever a possibility, because I know that juniors is very American specific, but I would love to see the Junior Olympics in Toronto or Ontario, Canada. I think that would be awesome. And I'm sure, Tyler, I mean, you and Tristan, you would go ball out in Toronto or where was Worlds at in 2015? I can't remember. Montreal. Yeah, that would be awesome. I love Montreal. And then another question, and this is a question I've had a serious consideration for. If you would want to add a freestyle as an official event, what would it be? I have seriously considered removing 3x3 as an official event in PYRA tournaments and replacing it with 9 cycle. Not even a joke. I have genuinely considered it. If not even removing 3x3, just adding 9 cycle as an event, because I feel like it's actually a very difficult event to do. And people just don't give it credit. And the only thing I worry about is that it'll be one of those events that's a little too fast, but there would still be like, it would be kind of a confusing mix. That's a great question though. Tyler, you seem like you have something on the tip of your tongue for this answer, so.
I've had a couple. If I want to go the quick route, just something fun for people to do, I would definitely do rapid fire. I feel like that would be one where it's like, it's so fast and like, personally, when people watch me stack and my dad will be like, do the rapid fire, and then I do it and they're like, whoa. Like, I feel like a lot of people would want to watch that, especially outsiders would want to watch that because it's something that they could do as well. It's just putting all the cups in a big pile. That's what people think cup stacking is. Take the cups, spread them out, put them in a pile, you're done. And that's what rapid fire is. So either rapid fire or something like, 9 cycle's a really good one. I've never liked 9 cycle, but if it was in tournament, I'd practice.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, one of those two for sure. But rapid fire would be at the top of my list.
The only thing with me for rapid fire is that it's just way too easy to mess up, like with the stack falling over. So it's like, do we not count that as a deduction? But if we didn't do that, then that kind of completely shuffles what we consider like clean and not clean, and that it gets really confusing there. But if we do count it, then it's just going to be a whole hell of a lot of redos for rounds and stuff. It's like, it gets way too nitty gritty on the details, and I feel like it would just get too confusing. But there's definitely potential for it. Ethan, what about you?
First and foremost, I am fully in favor of getting rid of 333. It is awful. Screw 333. I hate it so much.
Me too.
No, but I think like anytime I used to like stack in the city, sort of like do some busking, street performance, bring in some some of that moolah. But like the crowd, they fucking love blindfolded cycles, like, or just blindfolded stacking in general, like. And like in cubing, blindfolded events blindfolded events are, pardon my grammar.
That's a great idea, actually.
There's some of the most exciting events for me. Of course, in cubing, there's a lot more nuance to that because they have to actually like determine the algorithms they're going to use before they actually begin.
But could you imagine head-to-head competition blindfolded? Like your only sense is sound of, are you going faster than the other person? And if you aren't, then you have to catch up, but you don't know where the cups are. Oh my god, that sounds like such an exciting event.
Imagine if like both of the stackers fumbled at the same time.
People would lose their minds.
Each other's mats, and then they picked up the cups from the other set. That'd be funny.
I'm sure we'd have barriers in place. Who knows? Who knows? I think I saw another question. Oh, in y'all's opinion, should stacking be in the Olympics in the future or considered by the IOC? That's a great question. But more so for a conversational thing. And I'm gonna I don't want to go too far into a rant here, but to put it simply, because both the WSA and SpeedStacks are profit-making organizations, that will not happen anytime soon, because one of the requirements from the IOC is for the primary organization or primary governing body to be a registered nonprofit. So that's completely out of the question, at least for the WSA's sake. If Cupstack ever applies, or if I don't think PYRA will ever get qualification until we're like actually much more established. But who knows? I'd be happy to apply if I knew that we had that kind of leeway into the sport. But we also have to put our own, like, we'd have to make sure we were registered nonprofit and like we had our own restraints in order. But that would take time. But I could definitely see like Cupstack going for it for sure. It's just a matter of them getting it.
Caitlin, I love that idea of sorry guys, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
You're good.
That's okay.
Caitlin, I love the idea of having a stacking films crew, sort of like the NFL films or NBA films, and they have like mic'd up sessions where like you can like hear stackers commentary like before they go up to compete or while they're competing.
Another thing that to bring on to Caitlin's topic, I feel like that's not like great for content pieces, which is something else that I really want to expand into for like documentaries, short films, and like, like media pieces like that as well. Just to tie into that with like communication in a sense. I think that this is where coaching is going to be really important for the future of the sport. And I want to emphasize to people clearly, like if you don't feel like you're going to be a serious top tier stacker going into the future, and you don't know kind of where your place is in the community, I ask you to stay around for the sole reason that for my future vision of tournaments, coaches are going to be extremely important for stackers and for stacking. And in fact, to an extent where like I was literally like backseat coaching Evan in a previous tournament. And I think coaching is going to be really, really important. And I don't mean, like, I understand. I don't mean coaching in the sense of Lisa Berman telling you to do your 363 practice routine for the month. I mean somebody who is literally behind a team of 5 or 6 stackers, watching them, drilling them on how to actually stack, compete, what they should be thinking of in the moment, how to actually get them in the right mindset, in the same way that you see with like football teams and with soccer teams and just with like much larger sports in general. And I think that's one of the biggest failures, unfortunately, of Team USA is that why is there only 1 or 2 coaches for 200 plus stackers? There should be 1 coach for like every bare minimum, like 20, 25 stackers, period. Sorry, go ahead.
So what they have right now, they have divisional coaches where the older stackers are assigned to a division, but
how effective is that, Tyler?
I've never because the divisional coaches are competing at the same time you are. My divisional head coach at one point was Randy, but Randy was competing at the same time as me. Mm-hmm. Now I think I forgot who it is, but whatever. I think it might be Dalton. That's mine now, or like will be at my next tournament.
Yeah,
I don't know. Whoever it is, they compete at the same time. So it's like they don't really do anything. They don't have a certain job.
I am talking more so specifically about people who don't compete as much anymore or don't put more of the priority towards competing. Probably somebody like Ethan, actually, believe it or not. I think Ethan would be a phenomenal coach if he were to like actually coach a team. Like if you had Ethan as the coach of Dalton, Tyler, I don't know, and like 2 other stackers in there, like whatever the case is, like you have a top team there.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. Me coaching. No, I would love to do something like that. And again, that's sort of what this whole idea of expanding the sport and helping us going more in depth with the sport and understanding the more technical nuances is about.
Which is something I feel like that's why you'd be kind of either perfect as like an analyst or a coach in that sense for a team.
Right. And I think also I really encourage everyone in the chat, and I encourage you too as well. Well, I know Kian, you're kind of like retired, but if you want to like improve your personal best, like go back and study your film and like just watch yourself like slowly and like slow down the video and just see like there's certain things that you can't notice. Um, on a moment to moment basis. Like it needs to be slowed down because, the human eye can only catch so much. Um, you would be amazed as to how much like I learned about my habits in stacking. One of which was obviously how far I used to lean back when I stacked. Like I was
Hmm.
literally like the leaning tower of Pisa. It looked really awkward when I was doing that. And I think that can really it's a great way of learning more about yourself as a competitor and ways that you can improve your stacking habits.
Yeah, and Caitlin brought a great point in chat. She actually brought a couple of them, but like the Chinese Taipei coaches are really good. I know the Korean coaches are something else, man. I know those guys are really, really solid. Asian coaches in general seem to like really be able to get the stackers' heads in the right places, but William as well. William is really solid, and I think that once William is far past his prime and once he is no longer competing at the top echelon of stacking, he is arguably going to be one of the most important pieces of coaching and analytic work in the sport, because he's somebody that makes very complicated stacking technicalities seem super simple. And that's coming from somebody who's competed with him in countless relays. He knows how to talk to people in a way that they'll understand it. And he knows how to get people stacking at their best. And I think that like William is just one of those, and specifically William Morel, in case you weren't catching my drift. But yeah, like William, I don't think he ever needs to worry about that anytime soon. I think he's still in his prime, which is crazy to think about because of how good he is and how good he's been. He can only get better.
Another thing that I think gets overlooked about William is that he is extremely well conditioned.
Oh
And
yeah,
like I've seen this, like there's videos of him like dropping like 500-pound deadlifts or something like that, and like
insane,
I'm
bro.
just like this guy's not human, bro. Like he definitely is very disciplined, um, and he's very dedicated to his craft, which I really admire.
Yeah, and to emphasize, I like John Skinnell's comments. Like, I don't think Aurel will ever be quote unquote out of his prime. It's more so like when he feels like he's put a bow onto his career and now he's ready to take the next step, and he decides if it stays with stacking. I hope he does, because I think he's just that generational level of talent. I hope it never leaves him. Any other final wrap up questions from chat to ask myself, Tyler, Ethan, anything about stacking? Then we'll kind of wrap things up. But yeah, I really like talking about the technical aspect, especially with Ethan. And this is why I have Ethan on this podcast, by the way. Ethan is one of the most analytically well-spoken minds in all of stacking, and just nobody ever gives him the credit for it. Truthfully, Ethan, like, you are so good at this.
Well, thank you. I do really appreciate that, Kian. Thank you. You know, I've really struggled in terms of like not stuttering and not murmuring. Um, Actually, working at BJ's, which is where I currently work, BJ's restaurant, has really helped me come out of that shell and helped me really learn to be more outspoken and learn to be better spoken. Also, though, I can ramble on and on about like my opinions, but at the end of the day, like I want to actually do these things. I really want to make this whole stacking theory thing become a reality.
Yeah.
Put the work in to make it work.
There was also a really good question in chat, or maybe not a really good question, but like a question that I don't feel like people understand the nuance to. Do you think the KSSA or WSSA Korea is more popular? The KSSA is more popular than potentially the WSSA period. Not even just WSSA Korea. It's like the KSSA has so much influence in South Korea that I think a lot of people understand. It's like all of their tournaments always have like 300 to 400 competitors every single tournament they host. Like those guys have so much influence. It's crazy. Like their last like world championship, obviously because it's only in South Korea, because that's where they're focused in. But it had like 500 plus stackers in South Korea. Like that's not talking about the potential of the stackers coming overseas. If I went to one of those tournaments, oh my god, it's like I would look like mincemeat in comparison to some of those like South Korean teams. Yeah, by the way, that's not an inflated number. That is legit, like what they have reported to me, which is I think why the government just straight up was like, all right, Here's some money. Go do your thing. That aside, question for Tyler: which relay team would win? Wheels and not Wheels, or Tyler's and not Tyler's?
So it depends on who the not Tylers are.
Yeah, I was about to say, and also who the
Can
not
the not
Wheels are.
Tylers be the Wills? In that case,
yeah, you got a super team there. Let's
so
say
we take, like,
let's actually draft these teams. I would say for Wheels and not Wheels, probably the last iteration that I remember of the Wheels and not Wheels, which was myself, Karif, and then Polly and Orel. And then for Tyler's and not Tyler's, you, Tyler Fano, and then I guess you can have 2 other stackers, just not the Wheels.
or you.
Or me and Karif.
So I would do Nick Stam and so myself, Nick Stam, Tyler Fano, and Chen Kang-Ian.
All right. So Nick Stam's gonna drop a comp, completely lose his mental, and we win. Easy. No, I'm kidding. I love Nick Stam. But jokes aside, that's actually a super stack team. The crazy thing too is that I've heard it in interviews. I've heard it from Ian himself, and I think he even talked about it. I think it is post championship win interview. Is that he wasn't even afraid of William Morel in the tournament. He was afraid of Tyler Fano. That's how I think like Tyler Fano, if he truly puts pedal to the metal type of thing, and like he goes all in, which it seems like he's not slowing down anytime soon, quite literally. I think he's literally just setting himself up for his own era if he can actually stop Chen Kang-Ian at any point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's definitely gonna be. I think he's gonna hit 4.5 with Raiders. Yeah. I think that's his peak. I think he'll hit 4.5.
I think that's a given.
1.2, like mid 1.6, 4.5. I think he'll be the 3rd fastest to ever stack cups.
He already has a 4.5 with shorties too. He does.
There's like some stackers who just like have it, and like he's one of those people who just has it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that it factor.
He's in 2 of the top 5 lists in this very like conversation. He's 16. Like, I didn't know he existed until I went to HOTlanta. I didn't even know who he was. And this kid just popped out of thin air, drops a 521 in tournament with Gen 5, goes in to PCS Double Down. I think is one of only 2 stackers that even took a round off of Chen Kang-Ian. This kid's insane. He has so much potential. I mean, we could talk on and on about Tyler Fano, but I think we're going to answer 1 or 2 more questions here. I think I saw it and I kind of just glossed over there. Should there be team captains for each age division? I think age division overall is kind of a flawed way of measuring people's skills and what divisions they should be in. I think it's been incredibly inconsistent. And I think if you talk to a lot of the female competitors, it's just downright unfair. Just like, I think female divisions kind of have their own conversation they need to talk about, but like the female age divisions just don't make sense to me because there are a lot of female age divisions where you have one female stacker who's really solid, and then maybe another stacker in that division who's like 3 full seconds slower than them. So it's literally like, and that's the entire division. Like, age divisions just make no sense in general, but the female ones, just like, why? So weird.
I think as far as like team captains for divisions, we're not competing with each other. We're competing against each other. So
yeah,
what does a team captain do in that sense?
It would also have to be a captain that, like a team captain, coach, whatever you're going to be. It also has to be somebody that's not competing, because otherwise, yeah. And then in that sense, then they have to get to all of these tournaments, and then you have like, so they either the WSA has to pay them, or which isn't going to happen, of course, or they have to find spaces to do it themselves. It's just so confusing. It's so confusing, and honestly, I've talked about this previously about like with Team USA and stuff. In my honest to God retrospect, Team USA should be a rotational system of the top, at most, 15 to 20 stackers that represent them, top 15, or sorry, top 12, 15 males, top 5 to 10 females, just period, not age divisions, just period. And then everybody else should be on the state teams, kind of what they were made for, so that they're still able to go to Worlds and still able to represent their state and still represent part of the region, whereas the very best cream of the crop stackers can actually be coached properly, can actually get benefits for being on the top team other than just saying they're on Team USA, which was a cool bragging right about like 8 or 9 years ago. It's just like, it's almost like a popularity thing now. It's like, you're really not on Team USA? Like, are you even a real stacker? It's like, it's weird. It's like, yeah, Team USA Eagle, that should be just Team USA.
And Eagles isn't even a thing anymore. They don't do that.
Oh.
That was a Mark Sykes thing.
Oh.
He did it for like 1 year, maybe 2. No, we don't do Eagles anymore. That's not a thing. It never defined anybody. Only like some people. I thought
it was just for world
jersey.
records.
I never got my Eagles jersey either.
Yeah.
It was top 5 each. Like if you were in the top 5 in your division, like worldwide, you were an Eagle.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I think Team USA needs a completely new coat of paint. And I don't want to rant too much about Team USA because the last time I did that, I got suspended. So
I think they should at least, go through and get rid of the people that don't compete anymore. Like there are people that haven't competed in years that are still on the team.
My mom is still technically a member of Team USA, and she hasn't been to a WSA tournament in 4 years.
Like there's so many people on the team that just don't compete. Like I think it should be around 25 to 30 people
at most.
Yeah.
It's like, but that way I was thinking I would have probably brought it down to like 15 max, because that's 2 relay teams, and then you got like maybe 1 extra team or something if you want to add a little bit more for like a female team of the best girls. And that way you can actually coach them properly. You can actually give them proper benefits. You can actually set them up for success. You can put them on live television, whatever the hell you want to do. And that highlights your very best stackers, because that's what Team USA should be. That's what national teams should be. It should be a highlight of the best stackers. Everybody who is not a highlight of the best stackers can be on the state teams for their states, so that the benefits or whatever for being on your team is from whatever state you're in, whatever state coach you have. It's just, I feel like it was just done so improperly. I don't know. But maybe I'm just going insane.
It's not an accomplishment to be on the team anymore.
I do. So like with the NFL Pro Bowl, like it's definitely been criticized before, and rightfully so, because the way the Pro Bowl works is that, like it's basically a lot like Team USA in that the most popular players are obviously going to get the most votes, even sometimes when they don't deserve it. I think if we had like a committee, like a Team USA committee, who review results and compare results from other stackers, and then they like narrow it down to like 20, 15 names for Team USA that year, where you have to requalify every year, and some stackers aren't just fed Team USA on a silver spoon. I think it would probably have a little more integrity, I guess, but that's just me.
Yeah, I remember like when Team USA was like, it was the determination of if you were a top stacker or not. But nowadays it just feels like, again, it still feels like a popularity thing, in a weird way. It feels like, you're cool if you're on Team USA, but if you're not, come on, you like the cool kids.
Back then, that's what I would have used to, like, back with the question, like, how do you tell if a stacker's professional? Like, back then, it was if you're on Team USA, you're a professional cup stacker. You represent your nation in a worldwide sport. Now it's like everybody's on Team USA. So
yeah,
like I remember the last time I saw a tournament with more than 5 state team jerseys. I don't think I saw 1 state team jersey at juniors. All of them are like on Team USA now, just because they compete.
All right.
Which, good. It's good for them. I support everybody that's on the team, most people that's on the team. But yeah, it's not an accomplishment anymore.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to do, because we're a little bit over our time limit, because we usually go for about 2 hours and we've gone for longer than that. But one thing I wanted to finish off on is one question for everybody in chat, from everybody here right now. If there was a stacker in an in-person tournament, PYRA, whatever, just like whatever tournament, it's head-to-head competition. If there is one stacker in the world currently in-person tournament head-to-head competition against Chen Kang Ian, and they have to be Ian, who do you want it to be? Ethan, we'll start with you on this one.
At his peak, like it's hard for me to say anyone but William Morel because I think he like it at peak consistency, peak speed. I mean, Williams still does have a faster cycle record than Chen Kang-Ian. 2014, 2015, he put together one of, if not the most dominant stretches in sports stacking history. Um, personally, I do think at this point that Ian has definitely superseded Morel as the GOAT, just based on overall tournament placements, the kind of impact he's had on the sport. Not that William is not easily like at least number 2, and I still think that's very debatable as to who the GOAT is. But yeah, I mean, for me, William Morel quite clearly, or Hyunjin Choi when he was at his peak was pretty ridiculous as well.
Yeah.
I think he would definitely peak consistency, peak speed. He would have a great shot.
Yeah.
At Chen Kang-Ian.
Tyler, if it wasn't going to be you, just for the sake of example, we all know that you would 5-10-0 destroy Ian in person, of course. But for your own sake here, if it's not going to be you that takes him down, who do you want it to be?
Well, who do I want it to be? I would want it to be someone like what John said, like Randy. I would love Randy to beat Ian.
Can you imagine the scenes?
Let's go.
But
in a
as far as
realistic
somebody-
sense, yeah.
Oh man, I think Paulie could do it.
Ooh, all right, Paulie. If he comes back in round 3,
We've seen him take a long break, come back, destroy. Juniors 2019 got 492, came back.
he also got a relay whoop. Never mind. Go ahead. Sorry. sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. You're all right.
Yeah, I'm gonna get cursed out after the stream ends. Don't worry.
No, I think he could come back, and I think he could do it.
My answer is gonna be a little bit different from your guys because you both went with the Wills, which is very solid answers. It's gonna be a bit of an oddball, bit of a curveball especially for how I've criticized him in the past. If I want anybody to go against Chen Kang-Ian and they gotta win, I'm taking Andrew Dale, 100%. And here's the thing. Andrew Dale, like I said previously, is a different beast in in-person tournaments. He is so good. When he gets his rhythm, like, if Andrew Dale is having a good day, I don't care if it's Chen Kang-Ian across the table. I think you can beat him, truthfully. I just think it has to be a good day for Andrew Dale, of course. Like, can't be slacking. He has to actually put in the effort in practice. But I think if you were to give me, like, a dark horse candidate run for an in-person version of PCS Double Down to win the entire tournament, I would want to take Andrew Dale. I think that. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for being here with us. Thank you to Tyler, of course, for joining us. Tyler, it was a pleasure as always to have you along. It's really good talking with you. I'm sure I'm still gonna get cursed out after this stream ends. No. But again, thank you all so much for watching. I will see you guys next month or the next time we have a PYRAcast episode with another special guest, because our next guest is actually going to be